Terminator Dark Fate. Now this movie is pretty controversial. A lot of people are calling this movie a lot of names, including fuckface, retard, fucking spick, nigger faggot, and of course, SJW cesspool. And I can safely say that despite the fact that this movie has a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes and a generally good audience score, a lot of people really don't like this movie. And while you could say it's a vocal minority, that's the same BS they used for Star Wars The Last Jedi. So I think it's safe to say that a lot of people really don't like Terminator Dark Fate. Now it's time to throw my opinion on the table. This movie is honestly not that bad. Okay, listen, before you start killing me with pitchforks and stuff like that, just hear me out before I die. There are some problems with Terminator Dark Fate, so let's get them out of the way. For starters, the movie is a rehash of the first movie. The plot is generally the same. A Terminator is sent back in time to kill the leader of the human resistance against the machines, but then the resistance sends a human back in time to protect that person, and eventually they kill the Terminator with the protector dying, and the protagonist has to learn to become tougher and stuff like that. So basically this movie is the same as the first movie, just a couple of differences. And also, this movie does have an SJW moment. Remember how I said that this movie's being called an SJW cesspool? That's not necessarily true because there's not a lot of SJW moments, but there is one moment that did make me cringe. And that was the part where they were talking about how they should probably give up and Danny can't do this or something like that. But then Grace says something like, "You are not the mother of some man, you are actually the leader of the human resistance." Intentional or not, it made me cringe because that was definitely an SJW moment. Oh, a man is not going to be the leader of the human resistance, but rather a woman. Yeah, that's you, or something like that. It was just absolute cringy. Now, despite the fact that this movie does have a lot of problems, there's a lot of good in it. I mean, there's a lot of moments where the characters are just sitting down, being quiet and having character development. Danny goes from being an average girl to becoming an actual leader of the human resistance. Grace is sent back in time because she actually volunteered to protect Danny because in the future, Danny actually protects Grace, so Grace wants to return the favor. And even though Sarah Connor really doesn't have to be in this movie, she actually does accomplish a lot. She learns to not hate everything about the Terminator, and she's pretty badass. The T-800 is also in this movie, and unlike the previous T-800s where they cannot feel remorse, this one seems to develop a consciousness. Now I know what you're going to say, the Terminator actually feeling bad? That's absolutely stupid. Well, first of all, this isn't the first time the T-800 actually became a father figure. It happened all the way back in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And yes, even though you could say the Terminator in that movie was reprogrammed, in this movie, the reason why it developed a conscience and actually felt bad, it's because it didn't have a purpose. It didn't really need to exist, so it developed the conscience in order to actually feel like it has a purpose. I mean, that's basically what every human does. I mean, you don't have a purpose, make a purpose yourself, or something like that. So all the characters are pretty good, and there's a lot of character development scenes. There's also a lot of action that's pretty good. It does a good job of balancing quiet scenes and absolute action fest. And the Terminator, the bad guy, the bad one, is, oh my god, it is probably the most powerful of all the Terminators, because in this one, he can actually remove his skin and it becomes a Terminator of itself, while the exoskeleton can do whatever it wants in the background. So, wow, it's just the most powerful of the Terminators. So, yeah, there's actually a lot of good things about Terminator Dark Fate, and although it is a rehash of the movie, it is, in its own right, not that bad. The problem with Terminator Dark Fate is that it's a total rehash and it's quite unnecessary. In fact, that's pretty much a criticism for all the other Terminator movies. After Terminator 2 Judgment Day, did we really need a Terminator 3? We really didn't. So in all honesty, the movie's not that bad, and I'm not one of the people who get angry because John Connor died. Listen, I know it is a bit of a cop-out that John Connor died, but come on, it's definitely a lot better than Sarah Connor being killed off in Terminator 3, off-screen no less, and John Connor becoming a Sorry. Listen, this movie is unnecessary, but it's not that bad, okay? At least it's better than Terminator. Terminator is certainly an interesting franchise. It started off with two masterpieces, then a pretty mediocre movie, to an action fest that isn't as good as the first two movies, then. Sorry, Genesis just makes me physically ill. And then it circles back to just an unnecessary but not bad decent movie. Terminator certainly is an interesting franchise. Honestly, it should have just been two movies. There was no need for a third movie. But you can't keep the money-hungry studios from wanting more. But there is hope for the franchise. And that's simply leaving it alone. Paramount has no plans to release any more Terminator movies. And while that is kind of a shame, I think it's a good thing. It's for the better. We don't need more Terminator movies. We just need the first two. Because the first two are masterpieces. So, what we can take from this? Honestly, I don't know. The only reason I did Terminatorthon was because Terminator Dark Fate came out, and I like the Terminator franchise. It's like Godzilla. I love Godzilla. I reviewed all of the movies. I like the Terminator franchise. I review all the movies. I wonder what other thons I should do. MCU thon, Star Wars thon, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs thon. In all seriousness, I had fun doing Terminatorthon, and I hope to do something like this another day. Maybe a Kongathon for Godzilla vs. Kong. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Okay, that came off as super creepy, so I'll just say goodbye, like a normal person. Alright? Stay tuned.